Good morning, everybody. This is Mark Schnesk, Senior Application Engineer with Seiler Design Solutions. And with me across the room is Joe Madej with Seiler GIS. And today we are going to be presenting our Autodesk connector for ArcGIS Online. This is for Civil 3D. And drone imagery was the title. We kind of have some news and some manipulations that we have to do to make everything work, but we're going to hope this becomes an informative webinar for you. So we're going to start off with Joe is going to go ahead and show you some items with ArcGIS Pro and creating data, uploading it to ArcGIS Online, and then we'll show you bringing that data into your Civil 3D drawings, and we'll go about the imagery. So Joe, I'm going to go ahead and let you, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'll let you share your screen, and we'll go ahead and begin.
Yep. Hey, everybody. Good morning. I had to unmute myself there. So my name is Joe Madej. I am mapping technical support for the Seiler Mapping and GIS side of things. Thanks for Mark for allowing us to do this webinar in conjunction with that. So here's a little bit about myself. I've done 13 years of mapping and GIS experience, anywhere from sitting behind a desk to being out on the ground doing boots, collecting data. I have a bachelor's degree in geography with an area specialization in GIS, and I have also have my GIS professional certification. Our main focus here on the mapping and GIS side is Trimble products in conjunction with Esri or software. So that's where Mark has asked to come in and talk a little bit about the tools that Esri and both Autodesk are using in conjunction to help create more data and work into a seamless background and make it easier for everybody. So what I want to do now is discuss a little bit about the options of what Esri products has to offer. So I'm going to show you a quick bit about Arc Pro, a few slides, and then we're going to go into a live part of the demo and then pass it back off to Mark. And so Esri right now, if you're familiar at all with Esri, they are the industry leader in terms of geographic information science software. They have different softwares throughout the years. I've been using them throughout my entire GIS career, and they've come through a lot of iterations of software, just like Autodesk. So one of the softwares we're going to focus on today in helping to share data will be ArcGIS Pro. And ArcGIS Pro is the desktop application, so it's very similar to Autodesk, where it's going to run on a desktop. It's staying in one place where we can manage that data, where we can create information, and what we're going to do is share that geographic information to ArcGIS Online. So that moves into the next segment of ArcGIS Online, where you have the ability to. It is a complete GIS platform. I can share data, I can analyze data. The cool thing about ArcGIS Online is your data is accessible anywhere. As long as I have internet connection and I have access to a web browser, I have access to my data. And this is the tool right here that is going to allow Mark to pull the data that I shared with him into Autodesk and complete the full circle of this webinar. So there are different user types that Esri does have that you would need for this workflow to work. And here's the 5 user types that they have. And if you're going to need a user type for this, you're going to need either a creator or a GIS professional user type to get from point A to point B for data collection. And the cost is relatively low cost at an annual subscription, where just for an ArcGIS Online user account, you're looking at $500, as where the GIS professional full gamut runs anywhere between $700 to $3,600 annually, depending on what level of softwares that you need here. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this real quick here, and I'm going to pull up Arc Pro. So I already have my map showed up here, and what it is I went and I collected some data outside of Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And what I did was I went out and I collected some sign information and some sign data, and I want to share this with Mark. So this is what ArcPro looks like in the back side of things. I have the ability to rapidly share this information to ArcGIS Online and create a feature service, so that way we can use that inside of Autodesk. So what I can do is, one way I can share this information, and this is the same way that you can share your information if you had imagery. You can share the imagery as well in the same manner and the same direction. So I'm going to come up here, and there's the share button, and I am logged into my ArcGIS Online already, so I have counts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to share this as a web layer. And as you notice, it's going to come over here, and we're going to share that information to Mark and share that with the group with ArcGIS Online. I'm not going to run this right now because I want to spend minimal amount of time. So I've already published this data into ArcGIS Online. But essentially I can just hit publish down here at the bottom, and it will publish any feature data sets that you have, any geodatabases, or even imagery as well. You can put that as a tile background if you have imagery that you want to load up as well. So the next thing here is I'm going to show you a little bit about ArcGIS, a little bit about ArcGIS Online. And in that segment of ArcGIS Online, this is the same data that I loaded up into with the signs and the sign inventory. I created a map. Then this way, I've created that map. So if I needed to go out and collect more data, I can go out and collect more data in that specific map using a data collection tool. Now with this information, I can look at this data, and I can actually open up the map of this information, and it is the exact same view that you guys saw in ArcPro. So it's the same data. This is the interoperability between Pro and ArcGIS Online that will allow you to visualize that data rapidly. And then Mark will show you the tools of taking that data and the connect between that, which really makes it cool. There is another way that you can load data up into ArcGIS Online. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my content tab inside of ArcGIS Online. And I can come up here and I can click on add item. And if I download that data in that geodatabase, or this same information, which just happens to be in a geodatabase, it's on my computer. I can directly load this up and don't even need to actually have access to ArcPro for that information. I can come in here and load that data from my computer. I can browse to that file, which it's under my downloads here. And it has to be zipped. So that information has to be zipped. I can load that data. I select that it's a file geodatabase, and I can add that item to there. It's going to take a little bit of time to crunch the numbers and process, but that's how you can collect that information and such. So one of the cool things about ArcGIS Online that allows people to share information relatively fast is you can share this information outside of a group. So say, for instance, you're working as an individual firm, but then you're going to contract some work out for somebody else to go collect data inside of that map. You have the ability to share this web map with another group or another entity and add them to the group so they can actually start collecting data without having to reinvent the wheel. And that's kind of what I did with this sign inventory map. Is inside of this map, I have the ability to share that information, and you have the ability to share it with your organization. I can share it with everybody as public. If you wanted to crowdsource this information, you could crowdsource it and share it as public, or I can even come down here and edit the group and come down here, and I created a group that Mark and I are in called the Seiler Design Solutions webinar, and I can share that information with Mark. So even if you're working in conjunction with another firm or another user, that's going to do work for them. If they have a login for ArcGIS Online, you can take that information, you can take their username, add them to the map, and then they can go in there and collect data and see that same exact information. So for now, I'm going to stop sharing screen and I'm going to pass it back over to Mark.
Unmute my microphone. Thank you, Joe. That was outstanding. I really appreciate that. Can you see my screen okay, everybody? So this is, once Joe has shared that data, so he's collected the data, uploaded it, this is what I see. So I'm logged on, you're looking at my web interface to ArcGIS Online, and all I have to do is go to those groups. So I go to my group tab, and the group he shared with me, that Seiler DS webinar, these are the same data sets that he uploaded and shared with me. So this becomes available to me. I can look at these online, the same map format and everything as well. What's more important to me in this section of it is now I have the ability to access this data via Civil 3D or InfoWorks using the ArcGIS Online, the data connector. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a Civil 3D model. Now I'm going to go back to a PowerPoint here just for a little bit because there's some points I really want to make sure that you know, and we'll make sure we have this data available to you all. If you want a copy, I'll have a link to this PowerPoint data in PDF form as follow-up to this webinar. You'll get that follow-up email. So, you know, I must have an ArcGIS account in order to use the Autodesk connector. It can be the free account if all I want to do is go collect public data. But public data, you have no control over the accuracy or the content, and it can be difficult to filter out the items that you're looking for. There are some things you must do to your computer first before you use ArcGIS Online, especially if you're going to be writing back data. So I must install the ArcGIS projection data engine, and there's a link for it given here, and it'll be in that presentation. You sign in with your ArcGIS Online account, you download the projection engine data, and you save it to any folder of your choice on your computer, and then you have to do a registry edit to this location, find the key, the ArcGIS projection directory, and you just paste that directory location in there. And then that will prepare you. So what happens is if you don't install the projection engine first, when you go to write data back to the ArcGIS Online from Civil 3D, there could be a possible shift in the data. So this will prevent that. And it's also important too, when you set up your projection or set up your coordinate system, it really helps if you use a standard EPSG numbered coordinate system so that it matches with. Just in case, the data shift might be minor, but it could be cumulative over time. So by doing this preparation first, you'll prevent that. So once that's done, the simple steps to use: you select your coordinate system in Civil 3D, you start your Autodesk connector for ArcGIS Online, you specify your area of interest in the map, you could search for your data by category, choose the feature type for the imported data. When you import data in, like those sign points that Joe has collected, I can bring those in as Kogo points into Civil 3D, and we import them in, okay? And then once you get that data in Civil 3D, things like alignments, Kogo points, you can move and manipulate them in Civil 3D as you would normal civil objects. And then you have the ability to save back, provided permissions were set. So whoever's created the database, who's controlling that shared file geodatabase or file layer data set, has control of whether or not you have editing permissions or not. So you may be able to download it and just keep on getting updated data. You can refresh the data. So if changes have been made, they say, hey, new updates are made, you can come to this data source manager, hit refresh, and it'll update the data in Civil 3D. And if you have editing permissions, you can save it back. All right. And we'll also show here in 21.2, as of Civil 3D 21.2, you can connect to imagery and digital elevation model data. And I will show that. However, the one caveat is you must have an enterprise server. It's not available through directly ArcGIS Online, okay? One of the things the connector can do is connect, instead of the public ArcGIS Online or the web hosted, is connect to the web interface of an enterprise server, and it acts identically the same. Once that's done, you can download the imagery. But I do have some data sets. I'll show you how that works, but it does require an ArcGIS enterprise server for this imagery functionality at this time. I don't know if that's going to change in the future or not. The image you'll download is an image reference file. You cannot write changes back, but there is public data available on this too. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to switch over to Civil 3D and we'll demonstrate this. So I have a Civil 3D drawing in here. This is Civil 3D 2021.2 update. I've already gone ahead and set my coordinate settings to a state plane coordinate system. So you must go ahead and set up, a valid projected coordinate system in your model, whether it's UTM. I can't just use the Latlon or LL, the WGS84. It's got to be a projected system. Okay. Once that's done, now I have a little area marked out for my my area of reference. If I turn on my Bing mapping, you'll see that I am focused in on that Lucas Oil Stadium area in Indianapolis. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. And I'm going to come here to the Insert tab in Civil 3D, and I'm going to start the Autodesk connector for ArcGIS Online. Okay, it takes a moment. It's going to make sure I'm logged in. I am logged in with my ArcGIS Online account, and it automatically focuses on my area. So it's reading my location on my computer, and that's why the map area is here. But I can zoom in and zoom out with my mouse wheel and focus in on Indianapolis area. Now I could either search by a location by typing in an address or location in the search bar. I could choose the entire view of my window from my search area. I can draw a rectangle, or I can import, if I had a shape file or something like that in zip format. This matches the rectangle in my Civil 3D. So in my Civil 3D, I did a quick map export out of this as an Esri shapefile, and then in the connector, I was able to bring that area in. So this is my area of focus. Once you have an area of focus, your content is listed on the left side. Here's all the public data. Here's all my content, any of my personal comment that's valid to this area. And here's my group. So here's that group data that Joe had shared with me. Here's that sign inventory. I'm going to go ahead and select on that. You can see we have sign and pole features. I'm going to uncheck. I'm just going to check the sign features. And now notice the yellow triangle there. I must select a feature type. So for points, I can either bring it in as a Kogo point feature or a pipe network structure, a manhole, or items like that. I'm going to pick Civil 3D Kogo points, and I'm going to say add to my design project. And it's going to go out, read out that data from online, and drop those into my drawing as Civil 3D Kogo points. Now, if I eyeball these points, if I looked at them, it's using a default style right now. If I select that point and look in my regular Civil 3D properties, not only do I have the standard data with the Kogo point data, but if I come down here to the extended data tab in properties, you can see I have all of the attribute data that was associated with that GIS collected data online. So this becomes data not only that I can see here, however, I can come through into my settings. So if I wanted to change a point label style, I'm going to choose my description only, and I'm going to change that style. I'm going to go into the settings and the contents of that style. I'm going to wipe out just the plain description, and I can come here to property set data and look, here's my property set definitions. All comes from these Kogo points. And I just got to choose the right one because I've had several different versions of this. Pull that one down. There it is. And it should be sign style is the attribute. Sign style will have what type of sign it is. I know because that's available right here. Sign style, it's a no parking sign. So I'm going to go ahead and write that over. Click OK. And now if I click OK and then change this point to use that new description style, you can see there it is. Oops. I guess that's the wrong. I chose the wrong one, but that's, you get the idea. It should have read, let me change all of these. Edit. I'll make sure I get it the right one here. I think I choose the wrong. I've imported in this particular drawing several times, so I have different copies of these property sets. I probably should have cleaned those out before I chose it. Let's try this one, sign style. Let's add that one over. Let's see if that one was it. Okay. Nope. Oh, well. Nothing ever goes well live, right? So anyway, these are Cocoa points. They're Civil 3D Cocoa points. If I wanted to at this time, go to the data source manager. There's my source data. There's the service that's providing that data. If there was an update needed, I could choose refresh, and I could refresh it. What it's going to do is going to delete the Cocoa points that I have in there, reread that online data, and rewrite that data to my Civil 3D drawing. Okay. Also, if I made any changes to this, I could save it back and overwrite that data on ArcGIS Online, which case then Joe could take that data and manipulate it as he needs to. All right. Now, when it comes to imagery, we have a little bit of different animal. This is what everybody's going to be hoping for here. You publish the imagery. Again, you need an ArcGIS Enterprise server, but the actual publishing runs the same. Here's my copy of ArcGIS. I found out just recently that the ArcGIS Pro can process drone imagery into an ortho photo. So this is data that was collected nearby our office here with one of our drones, and I processed it into both a DSM and ortho photo. And if you have an enterprise server, then you can take this data and you can go back and upload it to your server as a tile set. Now, when you upload it in there, it will create the different resolutions for you for the different steps. You have control over, your view data of how big each step is. Online, it would look similar to this. So I have some data here. If I wanted to look at that particular data, I can open it up in the map viewer and see it here. So this is all data. Unfortunately, we do not have the enterprise server, so I cannot connect to this data directly. However, I do have one. There is a public one available, so I'm going to go back here to my this. What I'm going to do here is similar to as if you're hosting your own data. So I'm going to go back to the ArcGIS connector for Autodesk connector. I'm going to go to public. This is public content. Again, I'm going to load my my shapefile area, and I'm going to go to public, and I'm going to search for ortho photography. I believe is the one I want, and there it is. Best available ties. So this is imagery from the Indiana state government GIS. And it is hosted on their enterprise server and available to the public. All right. This imagery is called Best Available Tiles. I'm going to go ahead. Now, when you're downloading imagery from the ArcGIS On connector, it could either be an imagery for an ortho photo, or if it was a GeoTIFF of DEM data, digital elevation model data, I could download that as a surface, and then once that comes down, it would be created as a simple 3D surface from a DEM file. I'm going to bring this in as imagery so you could see that process. The surface would be the same. So I'm going to choose imagery, and again, I'm going to say add to my design project. Now I got a little different dialog here. So what this process is it's going to download this data from that enterprise server into my Civil 3D drawing as an image reference file. So it's going to ask me where I want to save that image file. Right now, it just offers a default location. You could set this to be a project location if you have a project for location for it. So this you could change every single time. It's not a one and done. It does remember the last one you use, so it will default that. So I have a place in my desktop, or I could put it to my documents. I got a folder in my documents where I save imagery as well. And here you could choose your ground resolution. So you have your standard, if you're familiar with bringing in like your imagery for InfraWorks from the Bing imagery, you have these same stepped resolutions. So you have an indexed resolution that equates to whatever the distance per pixel is. So at the lowest is, it would be a flash of a blob of color down to a 1 foot, 0.229, almost a little less than 1 foot per pixel, or 0.29 meters per pixel. I'm going to choose something here in the interim just so it loads fast. I'm going to choose this ground resolution of 2 meters per pixel. And then if we have time, I'll do one a little higher resolution so you can see that you can do multiple files at different resolutions. For that point, all I do is say import. Now, because this data is tiled, it only brought in the imagery for whatever area I had selected back here in my data collector. Okay, so this is the imagery. This is at 2 meters per pixel. It is now a referenced image. If I go to my XREF manager, you'll see it shows up here as a referenced image in that download location. But this is a nice way for you if you have a lot of data that you've collected from drones, you've processed using any various software to create an ortho photo. You could host this online at ArcGIS Online in your enterprise server, and then that could be just a location per project where you decide you want to download data. If I wanted like a more detailed of just this area, I can go ahead and do that. So maybe I'll just come back here to my, I got 2 meters per pixel out here, but I'll go here back to my insert, go back to my connector. I'm going to zoom in and choose a smaller area, maybe just where those poles are. I'll make a smaller image window. Again, I know this is public. Ortho photography. And by the way, I had to hunt and peck to figure out a good search term to come up with this data. But this data should just be relevant to the area I've selected. I'll select those best available ties again. Again, I'll bring it in as imagery and add that to my project. And this time I'm going to go with a much higher resolution of 0.5 meter per pixel. And then it's going to ask you where I want to save it. Again, I'll save it this time to that same location. And I'll go ahead and import it. And there it is. So this is the higher resolution data of just that window. And you can see I can go ahead and either delete or remove that original data. And then there's that higher resolution data. So you can see how nice it is just to be able to pull the imagery for what you need for just your particular project without having to cut, trim, and all the remainder of that. And then I'll go ahead and it's just another object. I could change the display order to send it to the back, and there's my Cocoa points on top of it. And then that's basically it. So that's the workflow. There's not much more to it than that. We talked about the pyramids and resolutions. I don't have anything else. So we are open for questions. If anybody has any questions, you're free to answer them or ask them right now. We'll be happy to answer them. There should be a tab on your screen for asking questions. I don't see anybody. All right. Joe, is there anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I guess I would like to add is making sure that, if you are going down using an Esri path to do field data collection, but you're using everything back in the CAD side of things, this is a very neat tool, and it now has completely changed the game in terms of doing data collection and sharing that data to Autodesk with Esri. And I'm really happy that they've done this interconnect between each other to share data rapidly, fast, and if you're used to using that Autodesk field. So if you have any questions, there's our email address and our toll-free number. You can give us a call, and we'll be glad to help you guys out.
Right on. All right, thank you. I don't see any questions on there, so thank you, everybody. It was a nice little half-hour chit-chat here. I hope you've understand how the whole procedure works, the limitations with the imagery. Again, the imagery only works with Civil 3D 2021.2. The ArcGIS Online does work with Civil 3D 2020 with the imagery only that. So then contact us at cadtechnical@seiler-ds.com or mapsupport@seilergeo.com. Don't forget to visit us at www.seiler-ds.com /blog, or what's the other one? www.seilergeo.com /blog. And you can check and subscribe to our blogs to receive more news, tips, and information on Esri and Autodesk products, as well as our complete line of drones and Pix4D data, GeoSlam, and all sorts of other fun toys. Everybody should receive a follow-up email with this. Feel free to contact us at any time if you have any questions. Thank you very much, and everybody have a wonderful week and the rest of your day, and we hope to see you on our next webinar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.